And I moved from the denomination that I was in, because one day I went for a mission where I was going for warfare. And when I came back, my bishop called me and asked me, why am I doing warfare? And I know exactly he's not a warfare man. He built a city church. And I felt vulnerable. In that warfare, because of that same one word, I lost 2 of my children. My firstborn was a girl, and my secondborn was a boy.
Hey guys, welcome back again, and this is the Bob Shakwila show, bringing you stories za kuelimisha, pia za kuhamasisha jamii. Ndiposa leo tuko hapa and I'm with this amazing guest who has a story. I tell you now and then that life is spiritual. Today we have a guest here who has his own experience on life and how he experienced. You know, you people have heard all the stories about Ukambani, Kitui, but now we have a person who was born in it but managed to just find a way out of it, and now he's leading the very, I can't say, but I can only say that it is a very holy life. He'll take us through how it has been. Najua wengi wenu mko hapa. How do I say this? Do I put a disclaimer that usishtuke, but he has a lot of things to tell you, ambayo utapata pia wewe unapitia spiritually na hujui nini kinaendelea. At the end of the day, I'm sure sote tutakuwa tumefunguka macho na tumeshinda vita. Ningependa utuambie kwa majina ni nani?
Thank you very much. Thank you for the invite. My name's Apostle Theophilus. I am the overseer of Jesus Healing Sanctuary. We have 17 churches around the country.
Wow, congratulations. So Apostle, leo nimekutana na pastor pia, na nikasema pia wewe nikuite hapa kwa sababu ni kitu mzuri sana. I've been working, nimekuwa naitwa kazi kwa hizi kanisa, na kanisa yako pia nilifika pale, and just hearing from what you are talking to the congregants, nikasema one day I must host this pastor. Lazima pia my community to know, to understand things to do with spiritualism, because you've been there. This thing has affected you directly. Sindio?
Yes.
Nikitaka basi leo tueleze na pia ufungue macho watu wangu about spiritualism. Spiritual is real. Karibu sana pastor. Ningependa tuanze show yako siku ya leo.
Thank you for saying spiritual world is real. Spiritual world is real.
Kweli.
And controls the natural world.
True.
The natural world is controlled from the spiritual world. I want to bring my story briefly. I was born in Cumberland in a place called Kibauni. Kibauni is in Machakos district. Kibauni during those old days used to be a dry place, and wachawi wa Wakamba wakati wanataka wamefanya uchawi umepita kiasi, Wakamba walikuwa naua wachawi wale wakubwa. Na wale watu, kwa sababu Wakamba walikuwa nakaa kwa milima, walikuwa natorokea kwenye Kibauni, eneo ya Kibauni ambayo nilisaliwa. Hiyo ni kumaanisha kila mtu amesaliwa Kibauni.
Kibauni.
Kibauni. Kibauni is a division within Machakos. Inamaanisha kila mtu yote amesaliwa Kibauni. The 5th generation was a senior witch. And I was born in a family where my great-grandfather was a great witch. He controlled the area. He controlled things to do with the judgment. He was the one who was judging among the people. But one thing I want you to understand as my listener is that the background of Kambas and the things they did, like long distance trade and everything, was based on witchcraft.
All of it.
All of it was about witchcraft and demonic worship. And they ate witches and they ate witch doctors. Witch doctors are the ones that could treat you if you have been bewitched. They ate sorcerers, and they have a different ranks. My great-grandfather used to be a judge. He had fanaphrelians that he was using to judge the people. And if anybody did not agree with the judgment, or he has a vote, akona makosa na hakubali makosa, alikuwa anafanyiwa matambiko ambayo ilikuwa inamuua na watu wao wote.
Wow.
Kwa hivyo ile jamii nimetoka ni jamii iko na a lot of innocent blood. because kama mtu amefanya makosa na akiuawa na watu wao, hao watu wengine hawana makosa, but there was a collateral damage. So their blood, according to the book of Genesis, where God, mahali Mungu alikuwa naongea na Kain, alisema damu ya ndugu yako inanindilia kutoka kwa mchanga, ili nipate ku revenge. So in the family there was a problem. Secondly, when I was born, this is a story that my mother gave me, that when I was born, the family members, because I am the second born on my father's line, I was to be the heir of my great-grandfather, who was a witch and a witch doctor too. But beside that, I was also to be a warrior. So they did not want to give me the name of my great-grandmother. They wanted to give me the name of a warrior. And my mother inquired about who the warrior was and how he was. He discovered that the warrior wasn't married. And so he said he cannot have a son that cannot be married.
You were to be named after the warrior.
I was to be named after the warrior.
The warrior is the great witch.
The warrior who used to lead the Kambas to go and raid other tribes. One must be of a high rank of witchcraft. Because when they used to go and raid other tribes, besides the weapons they were carrying, the greatest weapon was witchcraft. They must know where the other people are, where the cattle are, and how they will steal the animals and they will not be seen. And if they are pursued, their pursuers cannot overtake them. And that used witchcraft. So I was to be called that name. But fortunately, my mother said, no, he doesn't want his son not to be married. And because of that, I started crying day and night for many years, for a long time, 2.5 years. But within that time, my paternal grandmother was called by my family. She was told our daughter does not agree with the family rituals, to be the warrior of Kambas. So she talked with my mother, and my mother said no, because she was afraid if I'm called that name, I will not get married. And so
that spiritually,
if I get that name, I may not get married, because the person I'm being called after his name, he wasn't married. And there are some, when you get into the spiritual world, there are ranks. When you go, there are exchanges. Like witches, there are witches who don't marry to get to higher levels, and some sacrifices that are done so that you may earn a higher level. It is like the occultic world. When you get to occultic world, as the levels go, there are things that you are forbidden from doing. And the sacrifice for this warrior was that a warrior should not be married. That was the highest sacrifice I should do.
He was within that rank.
He was within that rank. So I grew up. Second time when my maternal grandmother came, she came with his daughter-in-law. And his daughter-in-law said I should be called Mudama. In our tradition, Mudama means to migrate. So my grandmother wanted me to be migrated from this witch to become a normal person. Unfortunately, they did not do the rituals that accompany the naming of the names. So the spirits and the powers stuck with me, and I grew. I gave my life to Christ. I went to college. I was through with the college, and I started working in Australia in Nairobi. And one day, as I was working, in the morning, I heard the voice of the Lord, and He said to me, "Your tongue has a power to make a fasting army." And those who are acquainted with the spiritual world, when you encounter the spiritual world, you understand many things that a normal mind could not understand. Immediately, I heard that voice because it was a loud voice. I understood God is calling me. That same particular day, I went to work, and around 2 in the afternoon, I had a serious accident that I was admitted in Mater Hospital in a coma.
And this was the day that you were supposed to be a pastor.
This is the day that I had the calling of being a pastor.
Then you get an accident.
Then I get an accident. Then I was admitted in Mater Hospital in a coma for 3 days. And when I came out of the coma, my boss, who was an Asian, came. He was the first person to come and see me. But when he came, I preached to him. He greeted me and I preached to him. He looked at me, asked the doctor whether I am all right. The doctor said, probably I might have a shock because of the accident. Then in the evening, he sent a group of workers. They came, I preached to them. But the following day, I stabilized. I started talking, explaining my feelings. Why do I bring the equation of this accident? When I heard the voice of the Lord, that voice was moving me to become a priest in the kingdom of God. And traditionally, I was supposed to be a traditional priest. So there was a tug of war over my life. And the enemy wanted to destroy my life that I may not become a pastor or a preacher. But thank God that God saved me from it. And later I could understand that I have a calling, and I went knowing what to do, and due to a point where I got a revelation of who I am supposed to be and what mandate God has given me in the kingdom. Later, I joined ministry, and I joined ministry in a neighbor church, one of the big Pentecostal denomination in Kenya, and I was a pastor there in the city center for quite some time. And one day we had one of our pastors in a certain area who absconded duty and left ministry. And the bishop sent me to go and see how the church was doing with an elder. When we came back, the bishop told me, "You are taking over that congregation." I was in a big congregation with everything, but I was being taken to a congregation that was small. It was 5 people with an offering around 300 per month.
300,000
shillings, 300 shillings, not thousands.
per month.
Per month.
When was this?
This was 1999, February.
That must have been a lot of money.
It wasn't.
You had that long ago.
Because my house rent,
your house rent?
My house rent was 15,000, and it had a phone.
15,000 in the 90s.
Yes, it was.
It was a mansion.
Yeah. And it had a phone, those wire phones. And somebody living in that state.
Yeah.
Was somebody.
I was connected with a phone.
Yes.
I must be a millionaire.
Not a millionaire, but I was well to do. And so in that letter that I was given, said every local church is autonomous, self-propagating, self-governed, and self-financed. My wife was in college. I was paying 60,000 per semester. So when I looked at that, I did not know where to begin. But because it was a bishop, I went to that place called Laksama.
Lakisama.
Yes. Laksama was in Kasarani district by then. It is in Ruaraka sub-county as we talk now. So when I went to that place, I wasn't happy with the situation. I wasn't happy with the ministry. And the Lord confirmed to me after a long time, that is a place He had called me. And when He confirmed to me...
How did He confirm to you?
I was reading the Word of God. When I first went, the Lord appeared to me.
You saw God?
He appeared to me. How? You cannot see God. But there are things that show that God is present. One, there was a big light in the house, and it was noon. So it was not in the night. And the light shone in the house, and I would feel the presence of God. I had known because that was a second encounter with God.
Yeah, was there any voice?
Then He spoke to me. about the place and about their point coming to that place. That it was not the denomination that sent me. But I was bitter because I was going through a lot of problem. I did not respond positively. Like I said, I don't want this place. And the presence disappeared, the light disappeared. And I stayed for 2 years preaching in the area. People would hear a good preacher. They never knew whether I was wounded, whether I was going through soul searching. For some time, I went through depression as I was preaching to them. They did not understand.
So depression caught you up?
Yes.
What caused this depression?
The depression was caused by the economical hardship and the kind of class that I was speaking to, the kind of people. I came from a congregation that had granted
and now you're in a village.
In different disciplines. Then I have come to a church where I have to explain one point for more than 5 minutes. In the other church, I used to say one word to mean a lot of things. But here I was to explain.
You must explain.
Yes. So there was lack of communication. People did not know, but I understood I'm not communicating what I'm supposed to communicate. So one, I felt frustrated. Secondly, I was frustrated because I was not supported economically.
Financially.
Thirdly, financially. Thirdly, I was frustrated because of the look of the area where I was. So for some times I had that depression and went through that.
Oh, you are still paying for your wife's university school?
Yes.
Why?
But
did she not have parents or so?
No, she was married to me. I am the one who took her.
You married her while she was in campus?
No, she wasn't in campus. She has done a diploma in cloth technology. And so when I married her, we agreed that I would take her to university.
For a degree course?
Yeah, to further that a degree course in cloth technology. So she's in university. It's a parallel. I am paying from my pocket. So I was struggling. Even to meet to make the ends meet, I was also struggling. So that was the second reason why I was depressed. And the third reason is I did not like the area. It was a bushy, the estate was very much scattered. It was a dry place. I felt I should not have come to the place. So that caused the depression. And I went on for 2 years. But after 2 years, God speaks to me. This time he doesn't appear.
Yes.
I'm reading a scripture that I've read for many years in Acts chapter 17, verses 28, 29. He says, he created us from one man. And he's the one who appoints our inhabitants where we'll be at the time that will be in that place. So that word was very clear to me that where I am this particular day is by the appointment of God. And I accepted to be in that place. I accepted to deal with the problems of the place. I accepted to preach to those people because I knew at that time God has called me in that area. And it was an estate where people will build houses and they are not habited.
Why?
It was that dry. It was that lonely. There is a man was called Papavias. He used to have a shop in River Road. He had built 58 houses, 3 bedrooms, and they had a wall fence, but they were not habited by anybody. So that was one of the first challenges. The other challenge is most of those thieves of those days used to live in Laksama. So, yes, I consulted my friends and fellow ministers what I should do about the area. And 2 of my close friends told me, you need to do spiritual warfare. And I bought that 9 books about spiritual warfare. And I read through them. The most unfortunate thing, you cannot ask a book a question. Point number 2, the books are written by people in Australia, New Zealand, America. They don't contextualize the area.
What is happening in Africa?
What is happening in Africa and also what is happening in the place, the local place where I am. because every local place is different. So they give you an overview of warfare. And so I engaged in warfare, very serious warfare, for about 5 years. And the place opened and the church started growing. And I moved from the denomination that I was in, because one day I went for a mission where I was going for warfare. And when I came back, my bishop called me and asked me, why am I doing warfare? And I know exactly he's not a warfare man. He built a city church. And I felt vulnerable. In that warfare, because of that same one word, I lost 2 of my children. My firstborn was a girl, and my secondborn was a boy. Because when you are doing warfare, there are things we call Theophilus. You need to have a mentor or somebody over you who has a knowledge of warfare, who can guide you and tell you what to do at what time. I did not have somebody because I read everything from the books. So I did not know when to retreat. I did not know where the Theophilus were. And that was a second problem in the land. But I went on, I healed from that, and I went on doing warfare. One day, when we were in the church, I wasn't the preacher of the day. One of my associate pastor was preaching. And this is where the story of encountering weekend world began. And before I get into that, let me say, when I got into this problem, I am in that area. Some of the demonic powers from the other altar that I was supposed to be dedicated started appearing to me and telling me, this is why we needed you. If you could be on our side, we would protect you. But I still went on and I did not look back. So one day, we were my associate pastor was preaching, and the Sunday service seemed to be dry. When I was invited by the pastor who was conducting the service to invite the preacher of the day, I said we should do some intercessory. And when I did the intercessory and I was praying to invite the pastor, a young man rushed from behind, running, coming in front, like he's flying over the seats. I lifted my hand and I said, in Jesus' name, and he fell down. Before he woke up, there were leaders, church leaders got hold of him and brought him in front. We started praying for him. And one of my leaders rushed for anointing oil. When I wanted to pour the anointing oil on him, he jumped up to the roof. Then we prayed and put him down, and then we prayed for him, and he was delivered. When he was delivered, we sat down with him. He explained that he was sent and they were 3. But the lady they were with escaped. But there were 3 of them, a old man, and a young man, and a young lady. And the young lady and a boy. The young man escaped. The old man got confused, but we got hold of this one person who was supposed to come and pick me from the church. Among the instruments he had was a small coffin. In that small coffin was a new moon, was a star, and a cross. So when we asked him, he said he wanted to put my soul in that coffin.
He had a coffin?
He had a coffin. Jeneza, lakini ndogo. Arm length. It was in a bag. And so he said he wanted to put my soul in that coffin. They were sent from the marine kingdom that was a problem to them. Our prayers were disturbing them. So we prayed with him. He gave me the story that he was recruited 2 years before.
Was it a large coffin?
It was a small one.
Just continue.
So it was a small one, and it was less than a foot. And he told me he wanted to put my soul in it.
In the coffin?
In the coffin. So he would take my soul, to where he was caught from. He was send my soul to where he was caught from, sent from. And I asked him what would have happened. He told me I would either
that was live in the church.
Live in the church. I would either fall down and die suddenly, or I get sick and within 3 days I am dead. So in that manner, I couldn't, I would have died. But we overcame them. We brought him down. He was delivered.
Where had they been sent? Where did they come from?
They had come from Mombasa.
All the way from Mombasa to come and kill you?
All the way from Mombasa, from some place in the sea.
Or had you delivered one of them? What was their issue?
By that time, I was doing a lot of deliverance. There is a group that came from a certain church from Kawangware, where the pastor was involved in witchcraft. He used to give people water from the underworld and water from the mortuary. And he is a very strong person, even today. Even politicians go to him. So I had delivered 3 people from that church. And the 4th person was the immediate reverend, who was the assistant to the bishop. So I think the underworld kingdom was agitated. So they sent for my soul. That episode went on. The boy was delivered. I gave some people money to take him back home where he came from. He was from Murang'a in a place called Kangari. So they took him to Kangari. And that was that Sunday. The following Sunday after service, the pastor was preaching that day was our choir master. He used to train music and instruments. So after service, he went to help with those boys who were playing keyboard. And as he was helping with them, he fell. And they called me. When I went and prayed with him, he stood up, and I asked the wife to take him home. I'll come to see him the following day. The following day was on Monday. I went and saw him. We had a nice time. We stayed the whole day. Then I was to walk across. My house was not far from his house, but there was a river that I was crossing to cross across. When I was walking home in the evening, at some certain place, I felt something like fever that got hold of me, and I started shaking and shivering. So I stood for some time, and I decided to go. I went home. When I reached the house, I called one of my assistant pastor. I told them what is happening, and I sent her to my sister, who was working in the city center, and she was doing business in the city center, and I was living with her. So I asked some kind of medicine. So that night, I slept earlier than normal days. I slept, and around 1 p.m., 2 men appeared in my bedroom.
The same night that these people visited your church with a coffin?
The second week. The second week. 1 week after, on a day on Monday.
So 2 men in your bedroom?
Appeared in my bedroom. They were wearing pearl shirts. Pearl. And so they started talking to me. They asked me, why can't I let or excuse myself? Why can't I let it and go? That word meant to me that they wanted me to die. We had a conversation for some time, and they left. When they left, they came back after 3 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes. They came back again, and we started talking. And I said, yes, we can go. When I said, yes, we can go, we moved from my bedroom. The first door opened. We got into the corridor. The second door opened. We got into the sitting room. Then the sitting room door opened. We got out. We went to the gate. At the gate opened, we got out. Now, what I cannot tell is whether I was walking in the spirit or in my body. So I've accepted to die. We went and reached some place near crossing the border between this life we live in and the eternal life. So I sat down. It looked like a plain place. I sat down. So we started conversing with them. I asked them why they want me to die. They told me they have been chased from Kiambu, and the only place they have found lodging is in Laksama. If I chase them from Laksama, where are they going to go? Then we talked about that issue. They told me what I should tell my mother and my father before I die, my siblings and my children, and my last born was in standard 5. And they told me where I should be buried, not to be taken home, to be buried in Langata. And after the grave, they put a big wall in front. And they told me the inscriptions that should be written there. I asked them, how will my children proceed with their education? They told me where the money will come from, to be put in an insurance cover. And my children will go throughout their university school. So also they instructed me to tell one of my younger brothers, when my last born will be informed to, he takes him to the grave and tells him the meaning of the inscription, which I was supposed to tell him, and he was not supposed to tell another person. Except him. So we argued for some time because it took us 2.5 hours in that conversation. But I asked them the last question. Now, since I've agreed to leave, who will take over from me? And they took me to Thika, in one of the slums in Thika, and they showed me a boy that was 13 years. And they told me, this is the one who is coming to take after you, but after some time. They also took me back to Laksama, and they showed me where this young boy will have his church. Then I say to them, I cannot accept to go. I started reading the Bible to them. I said, when Paul was parting, Timothy took his place and he was a mature person. He was also preaching as him. And so I also took them to Elijah and Elisha. I told them Elisha by age was elder than Elijah. And so when Elijah was leaving, he handed over the mantle to Elisha. Then we went to the issue of Eli and Samuel, and I showed them the transition. I said, I am not ready to leave my mandate with a young boy. And that's where we parted ways. When we parted ways, I saw myself coming back home. Found myself in the gate, went in the house, went back to my bedroom, and that was around 4:30. I called one of my uncles who was a bishop because I was shivering. I was shocked. I called my uncle who was a bishop. I also called another close friend of mine, a reverend. And I called one of the associate pastor and I told him to call the rest of the pastors and the leaders and tell them I'm not feeling well. No, but so I told that what had happened. But I told them I'm not feeling well. I need your attention now. And by 6, so about 7 leaders, church leaders who are with me, the bishop had come and the reverend had come. So I started narrating my story and the encounter with these 2 men who had a pearl shirt. When I explained, the reverend looked at me and said, what have you said? I repeated myself. And he opened the Bible in the book of Revelation, chapter 6, verses 8. And he showed me the 2 men. They were the prince of death and the prince of AIDS. Other translations say grave. So when we looked, we discovered and he explained to me that those were the princes that were sent to take me. The most important thing in this story that we should know is when they were telling me they were chased from Kiambu, by then I did not understand. But later I came to know they were principalities from Kiambu because Bishop Mode had fought a spiritual warfare and overcame the principality there, and they transferred to Laksama. We prayed together, and after 3 days I was normal. And we continued with the church. Little did I understand how to wage that war. I thought it was over. But when you overcome the kingdom of darkness, they come to negotiate. That's why they were coming to negotiate. When I couldn't accept and I went on warfare, they developed another tactic that I started seeing there are better places than Laksama. And then I moved the church to Garden Estate, that is Thome. And I was caught on a land deal, 3.9 million. And within the cases, those court cases, I lost a lot because I lost 2 cars. I also lost, the churchman was lost. And there was an altercation where the people wanted to kill me. And the DCIO in Kasarani told me to take a leave of 3 months outside areas where I have known that I should not go with my phone. My phone should remain in a house. If they send anybody tracing me, they will see my phone in the house. And so later when I came back, we had already moved the church. As I'm coming back, I found that the church had split into 3. And one pastor remained with a congregation of around 40 people, and the others began their ministry out of that. In this story, there are things that I want to share. And what I want to share is the encounter is not the best thing that happens, but I want to share issues of overcoming. Anybody that is engaged in spiritual warfare, one must have a spiritual authority over them, whether in a form of spiritual father or whether in a form of a mentor, somebody who is well knowledgeable in warfare. Why I lost 2 of my children and also lost a congregation in that area is because they are fitfulls. They are areas of fitfulls and covenants and rules and regulations and technicalities that are involved in warfare that I did not know. Secondly, there are protocols in warfare. Why you need somebody higher than you? They will tell you when you have a burnout, because sometimes most people have burnouts. Secondly, they will tell you when to retreat, when to go slow, and when to engage, because they were there. I missed those points, and because of missing those points, I lost my son, I lost my daughter. But altogether, I cannot regret about the issue. Many people, you ask me, do you regret this happened? I say no. I learned a lesson. And in this war, spiritual war, something that can make you, because many people, when they come to such encounters, many backslide because of offense, because they feel that God was not caring. But always God is caring. We may make a wrong direction or a wrong turn where we were not supposed, or behave in a manner that we are not supposed to behave. So it is important, anybody that is involved in warfare must understand those things. Secondly, warfare is won by, the first thing is holiness, consecration. The level of warfare is the level of warfare to win is won by the level of consecration. That is holiness. You must make sure that your bloodline is well taken care. Because some of those demonic powers, like myself, when I was fighting with those demons in Laksama, the other demons, the family line problem and altars were still fighting with me. And I saw somebody who helped me through. And I thank God for that lady. She flew all the way from Australia. She was 72 years old, and she was a white lady. She was coming for a mission, and somehow we got in touch, and she's the one who helped me in the process and coming out of that warfare. I thank God for her. And she explained and told me a lot of things about warfare. So it is important for those of us who are in the ministry to understand that holiness, consecration, is one of the areas that make us win. Secondly, we must do spiritual mapping, have a real information of the place or whatsoever we are engaged in, because some places have covenants. They are covenanted with the wicked world. Like those demons who are covenanted with Kiambu. When there came a strong man, he chased them out. They came to Laksama. I did not win the battle. I must admit, because the progress that we had taken did not continue. We plateaued as a ministry, and the area until today, when I examine the area, I find it has plateaued. There is no big progress spiritually. Yes.
That is the area.
Laksama.
Wow, that is a connection, and it shows us a lot how the spiritual world works, right? And that is your story. At the moment, we would like to know, where are you? Where is your church located? Or where is your ministry? Which ministry are you working with? Give us that information.
Currently, I'm working with Jesus Healing Sanctuary. I am the overseer of Jesus Healing Sanctuary and the founder. We have 3 congregations in the city, but personally, I'm situated in Makueni in a place called Wote.
Wote in Makueni.
Wote is in Makueni.
What if people may want to reach you out? Because these things about spiritualism, we talked about inheritance of witchcraft, these things happen in our day-to-day lives, right? Yes. Someone might be in need of your help, spiritual help. Where can these people reach you? Because most of them are even outside the country.
Thank you. My name's Theophilus Mwasa. My phone number is 0722 57 81 33. 0722 57 81 33.
Wow, thank you so much. God bless you.
Most welcome.
Thank you so much for joining our show.
Thank you. I appreciate you hosting me and inviting me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Asante.
So my good people, it has been amazing. We've learned a lot from Theophilus Mwasa. Imekuwa story ambayo ina imani ya kwamba hata ukiwa pale nyumbani umejifunza mengi, na ina imani ya kwamba tutaendelea kushare stories zetu, and we shall support Pastor. You are a pastor now, Pastor Theophilus Mwasa, in his journey hadi atimize ndoto zake. You've seen how pastors, you say pastors, but you've seen what pastors go through. The economic struggle. You thought depression was a disease for you alone. Even pastors go through depression due to many challenges. Pastor, these people might want to support your ministry in whatever way.
Yes.
Where can they reach you?
They can reach me through in Makueni, Wote. But anybody can call me through 0722 57 81 33.
Thank you so much. Many are in abroad. It is +254, right?
Yes.
Thank you so much for being with us.
Most welcome.